He lived alone for 20 years, hiding from the world after losing his wife. Then one freezing morning, a battered woman knocked on his door and whispered, "Please, don't send me back. He's coming to kill me." What happened next changed both their lives forever. 20 years of silence had trained him to expect nothing. Then one soft knock at dawn changed everything. He thought he'd die alone on that prairie. Until the morning, a half-frozen woman stood at his door and asked for mercy. Cole Merrick woke before sunrise, the same way he had for years, pushing himself up from the narrow bed. With a slow exhale as the cold in the cabin crept into his bones, his bare feet met the wooden floor, and he winced, not from pain, but from the familiar bite of winter air that never quite left this place. He pulled on his shirt, stepped toward the stove, and crouched to stir the embers until a thin flame caught. Light grew gradually, revealing the plain interior he kept in strict order. Tools lined one wall. Spare blankets were folded neatly on a shelf. A wooden table bore the marks of years of use. This routine steadied him every morning. It reminded him he still had control over the few parts of life that hadn't slipped through his fingers. He had lived alone on this Wyoming homestead for nearly 2 decades. At 39, he carried the quiet weight of someone who had seen enough disappointment to avoid unnecessary risks. His parents had moved east. His brothers built lives far from the plains. The woman he once loved had left after deciding the frontier held nothing she wanted. Cole chose solitude because it demanded nothing from him. His goal was simple: keep the ranch standing, keep the animals alive, endure whatever the land forced on him. He slipped into his coat and boots, preparing to step outside and check the barn. That was when a soft impact sounded against the door, faint, uneven, the kind of knock someone makes when they're unsure they have a right to ask for help. Cole froze mid-step, breath locked in tight control as he listened again. The second knock confirmed it. No one ever arrived without warning. Travelers avoided this stretch of land. Neighbors lived too far away to drop by unannounced. Cole reached for the latch slowly, scanning the room once to make sure he had something within reach if trouble walked in. He pulled the door open a few inches and felt the cold rush of outside air hit his face. A woman stood on the porch, leaning slightly into the frame as if her legs might give out. Her dress was torn in several places, the edges stiff with dried mud. A thin shawl clung around her shoulders, barely covering bruises along her arms. Raw windburn marked her cheeks. She'd traveled far in harsh weather. Her gaze lifted just enough to meet his, not defiantly, but out of sheer will not to collapse in front of a stranger. "My name is Mara," she said, voice strained. "I need a place to warm up. I don't want trouble. I just need a moment inside." Cole studied her quickly, gathering details he needed to judge the situation. She was young, mid-20s at most, but her eyes held the guarded look of someone who'd endured more than her years should allow. Her boots were nearly falling apart. The frayed soles told the story of long days on foot. Her shoulders trembled from cold and exhaustion she was trying to hide. She didn't look dangerous. She looked desperate. Cole stepped back without a word, opening the door wide enough for her to enter. She hesitated, clearly waiting for him to change his mind, then crossed the threshold with careful steps. The warmth from the stove reached her slowly, loosening the tension in her breath. She kept to the far side of the room, not wanting to invade more space than necessary. He closed the door behind her. She didn't flinch, which told him she'd been expecting sharper noises than that. "Sit," he said quietly. Mara lowered herself into a chair, hands gripping the edges while she steadied her breathing. Up close, he saw faint marks along her wrists, rough skin rubbed raw by something she didn't explain. She didn't offer details. He didn't press. Cole poured hot water into a tin cup and set it on the table in front of her. She stared at it for several seconds before lifting it with unsteady fingers. The heat made her eyes close briefly in relief. Controlled sigh left her chest. "I didn't plan to reach anyone's home," she said after a moment. "I kept walking because I didn't know where else to go." Cole leaned against the table, arms crossed loosely. He didn't interrupt. She took another slow sip. "I left a man behind," she said, choosing her words carefully. "I don't know how close he might be. I've been moving day and night. I'm not asking for much. Just a place to breathe. Her admission hit him with a mix of caution and sympathy. He'd seen enough over the years to understand what made a woman flee alone. She didn't need to describe details. Her posture told the truth. Rigid shoulders, eyes checking windows without turning her head. Exhaustion deeper than physical strain. Cole weighed the risks silently. If someone dangerous was searching for her, they might come this far. But sending her back into the cold wasn't something he could live with. "You're safe here for now," he said steadily. Mara nodded once, though tension still lived in her jaw. He stepped back to give her space. She watched him with a mix of gratitude and uncertainty. Cole returned to the stove, added pine to the fire, noticed how she shifted closer to the heat while trying not to seem intrusive. Every small movement revealed another piece of her reality. Outside, the wind brushed across the yard. Inside, the cabin felt different than it ever had before. For 20 years, it had been nothing but walls, tools, and silence. Now someone else's breathing filled the space. Cole wasn't sure what this would mean for his routine or his life. But as he watched Mara's fingers tremble around the tin cup, he knew turning her away had never been an option. The sun rose slowly behind the ridge, pale light spilling through the window. Mara's shoulders lowered as warmth spread through her. Cole stood nearby, silent, steady, trying to make sense of a day that had begun unlike any other. For the first time in years, his solitude had shifted, and the change felt irreversible. Mara woke to boots moving across the wooden floor. She opened her eyes carefully, realizing she'd fallen asleep in the chair. The quilt draped over her shoulders wasn't hers. She lifted the edge, understanding Cole must have placed it there while she slept. Her throat tightened with unfamiliar emotion. Cole stood by the window, securing the latch against the morning wind. He noticed her waking and nodded once. "You can use the bed if you need longer sleep," he said quietly. "You were half frozen. I didn't mean to take your chair. It's fine." He turned to the stove. She watched his controlled movements. He poured water into a pot. "You eat first, then we see what you need." The simplicity struck her deeply. "I can work," she said. "I can help with chores." He studied her. "We'll see what makes sense. No need to push today." She lowered her gaze, absorbing his calm. He stepped outside to check the barn. Mara followed to the door, stopping short of the threshold. She watched him walk across the yard. His gait was steady, intentional. While he inspected the barn, she observed the land. Open plains in all directions. Isolation settled heavy in her chest. This cabin was the only safe place she had left. Cole returned. "Horses are fine. One's restless. Needs walking later." He filled a wooden bowl with warm food and set it in front of her. She ate slowly, body responding eagerly. "Do you expect anyone to come after you?" he asked. "I don't know how close he might be." "He won't let it go easily." Cole's posture shifted. "You're under my roof now. If trouble comes, you won't face it alone." The assurance hit her hard. Outside, the stove crackled softly. He showed her the pump. She worked it until her arms trembled. He filled the bucket without comment. They returned to the cabin together. She hung the quilt over a chair. He removed his coat. "You rest more if you need." "There's work later, not now." She nodded. The silence settled into something new. Not loneliness. Shared quiet. Mara woke later on the small bed. She heard movement outside. Cole was fixing something near the barn. She stepped out. Wind gusted across the plains. Cole knelt beside a broken fence rail, hammer in hand. "You're up," he said. "I didn't want to sleep the whole day. Walking helps with that. So does work. You build all this alone?" "Mostly. Had a partner years back. He left for Montana." They walked toward the cabin. "You expecting someone?" "I'm expecting him. The man I left. If he comes here, I'll handle him. Why would you take on something that isn't yours?" "Because you walked to my door half frozen. Because you deserve a place to stand without being hunted." He handed her tools. "You can help mend the tack later." "I can do that." He stepped outside again. "You're safe for now." "I don't break my word." She stayed at the table, absorbing what had changed. She sorted through tools, fixed a leather strap. Outside, he chopped wood. When he returned, he examined her work. "Stitching strong. You've done this before." "My father kept horses. He gave her another small job." She stretched her legs. He noticed. "You should walk a bit." She walked to the barn. touched the calm bay horse. Cole appeared behind her. He's gentle. Animals are easier than people. I'm not good at hiding things either. They worked together. For the next hour, silence shifted from cautious to steady. You're getting your strength back. Slowly. You'll be here until you're ready to move on. I won't push you. And I won't keep you if you want to. Go. I don't know where I'd go. Then you stay until you find one. They walked back toward the cabin. Cole paused, scanning the horizon. Someone could come through here in a few days. A trader I know. He tells me if trouble's near. You're not alone anymore. That changes things. Inside, she worked on the cracked buckle. Cole checked supplies. Lantern lit. Something shifted. Not spoken, real. He wasn't treating her like a guest. She wasn't acting like she'd vanished before dawn. For the first time since running, she felt the outline of stability forming. Not trust yet, but close. Cole didn't sleep much that night. Not because of danger, because the cabin no longer belonged only to him. He lay on his narrow bed listening to the wind brush the walls and the faint sound of Mara's breathing from the other side of the room. He'd given her the small bed near the stove and taken his old cot instead. It felt wrong to let her sleep near the door in case trouble came. The habit of protecting someone else settled into him faster than he expected. Just before dawn, he rose quietly and pulled on his boots. He stepped outside to check the perimeter like he always did. The prairie stretched empty in every direction. No riders, no tracks, no smoke. Relief came slow but real. When he returned, Mara was already awake, sitting upright with the quilt wrapped around her shoulders. I didn't mean to oversleep, she said. You didn't, he replied. I always rise early. She studied him for a moment. You didn't have to give me the bed. I did. She didn't argue. They ate in silence. The quiet wasn't awkward anymore. It had weight, meaning, the kind that came from two people learning each other's rhythms without forcing conversation. After breakfast, Cole handed her a pair of old gloves. Fence line needs checking. If you're up for a walk, I am. They headed east along the property line. Frost still clung to the tall grass. The sky was pale blue, thin clouds drifting like slow thoughts. You ever lived this far from a town? He asked. Once, when I was a child. Before everything changed. He didn't press. At the broken section of fence, he showed her how to hold the wire while he hammered the post deeper. You're not shaking today, he noticed. I slept. That helps. He gave a small nod. They worked in quiet coordination. It felt strange how natural it already was. When they finished, they stood there for a moment, both staring out over the endless prairie. You don't ask many questions, she said. I figure you'll tell me what matters when you're ready. Her throat tightened. They turned back toward the cabin. That afternoon, while Cole repaired a saddle strap, Mara washed clothes at the pump. Her movements were slow but determined. She paused once, pressing a hand to her ribs. You hurt there? He asked. She hesitated. He pushed me off a wagon 2 days before I ran. Cracked a rib, I think. Cole's jaw tightened. You should have said something. I didn't want to be a burden. You're not. He crossed the yard and gently took the bucket from her hands. You rest. I'll finish this. She looked like she might argue. Then she didn't. Later, as she lay on the bed staring at the ceiling, she finally spoke. My husband sold me, she said quietly. Cole froze near the stove. To a man who wanted a worker and a wife in one. I tried to make it work. I tried not to anger him. But he drank. And he hit. And when I ran, he swore he'd hunt me down. Cole turned slowly. You don't belong to anyone, he said. Tears slipped down her temples into her hair. I don't know who I belong to anymore. You belong to yourself. And right now, you're under my protection. She covered her face with her hands. He didn't touch her. He stayed close enough that she knew he was there. That night, the wind howled harder. The cabin creaked. Mara jolted awake once, gasping. Cole was at her side in seconds. You're safe, he said quietly. It's just the storm. She nodded, breathing slowly. Stay, she whispered. He sat on the edge of the bed until she fell asleep again. The next day, hoofbeats came at noon. Cole stiffened instantly. He stepped outside with his rifle in hand, heart hammering. A lone rider approached slowly. A trader, just as Cole had predicted. Relief washed through him. The man dismounted, dusting off his coat. "Windy stretch you've got here," the trader said. "You see anyone unusual on the road?" Cole asked casually. "Man passed me 2 days back, mean-looking, asked. About a woman traveling alone." Cole's chest tightened. "You tell him anything?" "Just that I hadn't seen her." "Thought it strange." Cole nodded. "You saved a life, friend." The trader squinted. "That's serious?"
Yeah.
After the man rode off, Cole stood in the yard for a long moment. Then he went inside. "He's close," he said. Mara went pale.
How close?
2 days behind you. Maybe 3. Her hands trembled. "He'll find me." "No," Cole said firmly. "He won't." That night, Cole moved his rifle closer to the bed. He barred the door. And for the first time in 20 years, how? The next morning broke under a grey sky, heavy with unspoken threat. Mara barely touched her breakfast. Every sound outside made her flinch. The creak of the cabin, the snap of wood in the stove. Even the wind against the door felt like a warning. Cole noticed everything. "You don't stay trapped in fear," he said quietly. "You prepare." She looked up at him. "For what's coming?" He stepped outside and brought in extra firewood. Then he checked the windows, reinforcing one loose shutter with a nail. He showed Mara how to load the spare rifle. "Do you know how to shoot?" "My father taught me once, a long time ago. That's enough to start." He guided her hands, correcting her grip. "Don't fight the recoil. Let it come." She fired once into the dirt bank behind the barn. The sound echoed across the prairie. Her hands shook afterward. "You did fine," he said. "I don't want to kill anyone." "You won't have to, but you won't be helpless either." They spent the rest of the day preparing, moving supplies, hiding valuables, setting the horses ready in case they had to run. By evening, dark clouds rolled in. A storm built on the horizon. That night, thunder cracked so hard it rattled the walls. Mara couldn't sleep. Neither could Cole. They sat at the table, lantern between them. "What if he burns the place down?" she whispered. "Then we leave before he gets close enough." "What if he takes me by force?" Cole's jaw hardened. "Then he'll have to go through me first." She stared at him. "Why are you doing this for me?" He hesitated. "Because I know what it's like to lose everything and have no one come." Silence stretched. Then she asked the question he'd avoided for years. "What happened to you?" He stared into the lantern flame. "My wife died in childbirth. Baby didn't make it either. After that, I stopped believing the world gave second chances." Her breath caught. "I'm sorry." "So am I." They sat there, grief finally spoken into the open air. Outside, thunder rolled again. Near midnight, the dogs barked. Cole was on his feet instantly. He grabbed his rifle. Mara's heart slammed against her ribs. A shadow moved near the barn. Cole opened the door slowly. A man stood there, soaked from rain, face twisted with anger. "Where is she?" the man growled. Mara's blood turned to ice. Cole stepped outside, blocking the doorway. "She doesn't live here." The man sneered. "Don't lie to me, old man. I tracked her all the way from Red Hollow. You should turn around and leave." The man reached for his gun. Cole fired first. The bullet struck the ground inches from the man's foot. "Next one won't miss," Cole said. The man backed up, eyes wild. "This isn't over," he hissed. He mounted his horse and disappeared into the storm. Mara collapsed to her knees. Cole rushed back inside, locking the door. "He'll come back," she sobbed. "Yes," Cole said grimly. "But not tonight." He wrapped a blanket around her shoulders. "You're not alone anymore." She buried her face in his chest, and for the first time since she ran, she let herself believe him. The storm cleared by dawn, but the danger didn't leave with it. Cole hadn't slept at all. He stood by the window as the sky slowly lightened, rifle resting against his shoulder. Every shadow in the tall grass looked like a threat. Every sound felt too loud. Mara sat at the table, hands wrapped around a tin cup she wasn't drinking from. "He'll be back," she said quietly. "Yes," Cole replied, "and this time he won't come alone or empty-handed." Fear tightened her chest. "Then I should leave. I don't want your blood on my conscience." Cole turned toward her fully. "If you walk out there alone, he will catch you, and I won't forgive myself for letting that happen." "But he'll kill you." Cole's voice dropped steady and final. "Then I'll die doing the one thing I should have done 20 years ago." She stared at him. "What?" "I hid from life after my wife died. I stopped choosing people. Stop protecting anything but fences and cattle. He swallowed. You reminded me I'm still a man who can stand for something. Tears filled her eyes. You don't owe me that, she whispered. I'm not doing this because I owe you. He stepped closer. I'm doing it because I choose you. Something inside her broke open. They heard hooves again just after noon. Not one horse. Two. Cole swore under his breath. Go to the back room. Take the rifle. Don't come out unless I call your name. Mara grabbed his arm. Don't leave me. I won't, he said softly. But I need you alive more than I need company. He stepped outside. Two men waited near the barn. Her husband, and another man she'd never seen before. The second man smirked. That's her, right? You hiding a runaway wife? Cole raised his rifle. She's not your property. Her husband spat in the dirt. She's mine by law. You lost that right the day you beat her. The husband reached for his gun. The second man laughed nervously. Let's not make this messy. The gunshot echoed across the prairie. Cole fired. The husband went down, screaming, clutching his shoulder. The second man froze. Drop it, Cole barked. The man did. Cole kicked the weapon away. Get on your horse and leave now. The second man didn't argue. He mounted and fled. Cole walked toward Mara's husband, who was writhing in the dirt. You don't touch her again, Cole said coldly. He fired one last shot into the man's leg. Next time, it's your heart. The man screamed as Cole turned away. Inside the cabin, Mara heard the shots. She burst out the door, rifle shaking in her hands. Cole saw her and raised his palm. It's over. She ran to him and collapsed against his chest. He's alive, she whispered. Yes, Cole said, but he'll never come back here. They stood there for a long time, wind moving gently across the grass, blood darkening the dirt behind them. Finally, Mara pulled back. I don't know what I am to you, she said, but I don't want to run anymore. Cole looked at her with quiet intensity. You don't have to. She took a shaky breath. Can I stay? Not just until I heal. Not just until he's gone. His answer came without hesitation. Yes. Months later, spring came soft and green. Mara's rib healed. The fence line was stronger. The cabin held laughter now. She planted a small garden beside the house. He built her a proper bed. They worked side by side, shared meals, shared silence. One evening, as the sun dipped low, Cole took her hand. I won't promise easy, he said. I won't promise perfect. She smiled through tears. I don't need perfect. I need safe. I need chosen. He kissed her forehead. You're both. She rested her head on his chest, watching the prairie glow gold. For the first time in both their lives, home didn't feel like a place. It felt like a person.